So many practices that you preach in the book run counter to what we're used to. Managing employees essentially by committee, not trying to turn over your worst employees. Where does that all come from?
Well, it comes from actually failing to trust our gut. You know, all our instincts about how to manage people end up with companies that perform at average levels. Because on average, we make average quality decisions. You apply a little data and science to see what actually makes people effective, and you end up running things quite differently.
A big part of the conversation about work in Silicon Valley and where we head from here is diversity, what to do about the talent pipeline. I've got a bunch of friends still in education and in tech in Silicon Valley who say Google is actually working on potentially creating a school for kids. Would the purpose of that be like a Nexus product to create a blueprint that others could follow? Have you decided whether to do that or not?
Yeah, well, I don't think we're ready to launch a school, but what we have done is we've created a program called CS First, and we've actually partnered with Bill de Blasio here in New York City. It came out of our work in South Carolina. It's a basically CS computer science curriculum in a box that you can use to form clubs. It's targeted at 4th through 12th graders, and this year we hope to put over 100,000 kids through it.
Diversity more generally, though, when you think about building a company and building a diverse workforce, you still need to balance the fact that a company is a meritocracy. The best people should get the jobs. How do you balance those two issues?
Well, the trick is you can never, ever compromise. I had a conversation with Dr. Michael Lomax, who runs the United Negro College Fund, and he said, no matter what, you can't compromise on quality. So what that means is we have to attract more people to the industry who aren't applying today. African Americans don't apply to tech companies as much as to banking and finance, for example. And we have to make sure it's a welcoming environment for everyone.
I just saw on the screen 2 million applications a year?
Yeah, 2 million.
How many will you hire out of that?
We'll hire about 5,000.
5,000?
Yeah.
Out of 2 million?
Yeah.
So walk us through what the process is like, the interview process. How is it really different from a Goldman Sachs or any other challenging place to get hired at?
Well, the first thing that happens is a phone screen, and what we mainly assess there is general cognitive ability, kind of how good you are at solving problems, how bright you are, how quickly you pick things up. It's not case interviews. It's trying to understand really how you think, and there's a way we do that I cover. Then you come on campus, and you have 4 interviews, sometimes 5, and then everybody writes interview feedback, and that goes to a hiring committee. And nobody you met is on the hiring committee because we want people who are unbiased, people who set a high-quality bar to make the actual hiring decision. And that eventually goes to review to Larry Page, our CEO, who makes the final call.
Is that a good use of his time? I mean, we've heard of this at other tech companies, that Marissa Mayer has to approve every hire. Some say that's inefficient.
Well, first of all, we've gotten a lot better at figuring out what works for Larry and what we should be looking for and documenting that. So it doesn't take nearly as much time as it used to.
People will always want to know what the most challenging Google brain teaser is. You know, you hear about how many golf balls fit inside a 747. What's the wackiest one that you've heard of in an interview?
Well, so we're trying to get people to stop using brain teasers because the problem is it's a very specific skill, like solving these kinds of cases and brain teasers that actually doesn't predict how you're going to do in the job. So we actually tell people don't ask those questions, and when they do, and we get the interview feedback in the hiring committees, we typically ignore that.
So does that mean the rules are changing? Because 10 years ago, it was all the talk, you know, all these brain teasers and things that you guys would do that supposedly evaluated how smart a person was and that you would only take people from certain schools. Have those rules basically changed as you've learned more?
Yeah, completely. We were getting it wrong. We were doing it the wrong way. The better way is to ask structured behavioral interview questions where you say, give me an example of a tough problem you solved, and then you walk that through with somebody, and you have different interviewers ask similar questions, so you get more than one answer, and you can get a real calibrated sense of, is the person bright? Can they solve problems well? Not, can they figure out why are manhole covers wrong?